I'm Alan Ramp, president and founder of Alan Ramp's Proactive Training Solutions, and here's what's got me fired up today. Most of you have heard me talk about training and the need to really train your people. I think it's time for me to define what real training looks like, as I see a lot of dealers buying a lot of stupid crap that they think is training or might even be called training, but really isn't. Twinkies are, after all, called food, but I would dispute that as well. Let's talk about what does and what does not constitute training. The other day I heard one of my reps talking to a dealer who said that they were all taken care of with training because they had just hired a call monitoring solution. They just started monitoring their inbound sales calls. That's the equivalent of a baseball team saying they don't need to go to spring training or take batting and fielding practice because they just got a brand new scoreboard, or someone saying that they weren't going to join a gym because they just bought a new scale. This guy actually thought that monitoring his calls was training. That's not training. That would be accountability. While accountability is one element, it's just part of the formula. When accountability is a standalone, you're just going to know that your people suck. For training to be effective, the following elements need to be present. You need to have education, you need to have simulation, you need to have accountability and consequence. That's what constitutes the training process. It's not just one thing. Let's talk golf. You can become educated in golf by watching it on TV, but then what do you have to do? You have to simulate. You have to hit bucket after bucket after bucket of balls for the rest of your life to get good and stay good. Then you're held accountable ultimately on a scorecard. What's the consequence if you don't perform on the golf course? As a professional golfer, you'll start missing cuts and you could lose your tour card. If you're a recreational golfer, you might end up losing all your money to your friends on the golf course. I can watch football on TV all day long, but that doesn't make me a football player. Watching football, I can become educated in football. But what do football teams do? They go to training camp every year. They practice 5 days a week in season to play one game. They simulate offense against defense. Then they're held accountable. Every player is graded by their position coach on every play in every game. That's a fact. That's some serious accountability. Then there's a consequence for poor performance. What is that consequence? If you don't perform, you get cut from the team. If it wouldn't work on a sports team, it won't work on a sales team. The same principles apply to you. First, you have to educate your people. They need to understand what it is you want them to do as well as why they're doing it. Then you have to simulate. That involves a little bit of role playing and can realistically be done in as little as 5 to 7 minutes per day for a complete staff if you know what you're doing. Then you hold your people accountable. If we're talking about inbound sales calls specifically, you have to be listening to your phone calls. Please refer to my first Ram on Fire for a refresher on that. Then there needs to be a consequence. As my good friend Dave Anderson says, without a consequence, your standard is only a suggestion. For the ones that don't perform to your standard on the telephone, for example, they lose the privilege of taking phone calls. These principles apply to any training. It doesn't matter if you're training a sales team or the Seattle Seahawks. Those elements need to be present, or whatever you're doing is not ultimately training. Education, simulation, accountability, and consequence. If you want to learn about our complete sustainable solution for conversion off the telephone and internet, please call us at 866-996-4665. In any event, no matter what you're doing, let's make sure that what we're calling training really is, and that you have a complete process in place. Thanks for watching and letting me get that off my chest.